Hello! Welcome to a vlog! This is the next vlog in my SPFBO series, but it's also my vlog for Summer of Self Pub, which is a readathon that my friend created and I'm kindly helping her do. There is an announcement video that I'll leave down below, but obviously by the time you're seeing this vlog it's been over. But definitely check it out because I think we might have future installments in the next coming months, years, all of that, because it's just a fun way to show some love for indie books. But let's get into talking what I'll be reading this week. So I wanted to do another vlog for SPFBO, which is a self-published fantasy blog-off hosted by Mark Lawrences, where there's a bunch of fantasy self-published books that go into a competition and there'll be one winner. I will link the first video I did, the first vlog I did where I read some contenders, where I actually explained the entire competition, but I will also link down below the link to Mark Lawrences' blog where he discusses the rules and has all the information you need about the competition. For this installment, I wanted to read books that had already been cut from SPFBO. Since SPFBO is like a blog off, it's just a bunch of fantasy reviewers who read the book and then eventually there's a winner. But reviews are subjective, and essentially in the first phase only one person reads your book and then either cuts it or puts it off to be a semi-finalist, and then the finalists get read by everyone and the semi-finalists are read by more than one person. So one person could just not like your book, so I really noticed that it's important to read reviews and read the actual reviews, because what I like you might not like and what someone likes I may not like. So I started really following reviews and reading the reviews and decided a couple books that still looked really interesting to me and that I don't necessarily think I agreed on the points of why the reviewer didn't like it. Not to say they didn't like it and they're wrong, it's just different opinions and feelings. So I wanted to give some love to some of these books that have already been cut that I might still really enjoy. And of course I'm doing this while trying to follow Summer of Self Pub prompt, but at the end of the day, Summer of Self Pub is all about reading indie books, so I just wanted to read indie books for the week. I have 4 books on the TBR. I will probably only get to 3, but I am hopeful I'll get to all 4. It just depends on how much reading I get done. One that I'm really interested in is The Cradle by Ron Sammy. This one I think I'll get to because it's really short. The Cradle was on Bookborn's pick of books and was cut really early. I think it was a DNF if I remember correctly. Pretty much the synopsis talks about The Cradle as an epic fantasy set in a vast new world with ancient belief systems, dark magic, and undiscovered lands. The series ideal for fans of George R.R. Martin, Joe Abercrombie, Stephen Erickson, or Brandon Sanderson. And then there's just a little description of the 3 people that we follow. It is multi-POV'd. I'm excited to try this one. The cover really grabs my eye, and I will be using this for the Summer Self Pub prompt with fire or red on the cover. There is, you won't be able to see it that well. I might show a picture of the cover screenshotted from the internet because I think you can see the fire better in that, but there is a little bit of fire down here. I think it's my only book that has red on the cover, so I will red or fire on the cover, so I will be reading this week. Really quick and easy. I'm excited to keep you updated. The other one that I think I'm for sure reading is a chunker. I don't own it physically yet. It's on the way to me as I'm filming this right now. I think it comes tomorrow, which is the Seventh Cadence by Jim Wilborn. This one was in the Before We Go blog little pick of books and was cut quite early on. It is a 700-page book. It also sounded like a DNF at some point, so I am excited to try it. I really know not a lot about this book, but the cover really screams to me, and my friend Dom from Dominish Books has read and loved this book, and so I kind of trust him. So I figured, why not? Let's try it. And it's, I don't know, it screams like the kind of fantasy I would like. Let's see. An action-packed epic fantasy adventure perfect for fans of Brandon Sanderson, Brent Weeks, and Robert Jordan. The Seventh Cadence is a sweeping high fantasy epic of war, found family, and reckoning with fate. After a supernatural and unforeseen calamity shatters the tentative alliance of the 5 realms, the Desert Dominion has returned to take back their homeland and restore their oppressive regime. As the Dominion readies their troops for invasion, the fate of the entire world rests in the hands of a fugitive scientist, a powerful pacifist, and an unseasoned prince with little to guide them but their own ideal. With the freedom of a kingdom at risk, each must find their place in a world torn asunder. That sounds pretty good to me. So this one I will be reading for the prompt 500 plus pages. Now, the last prompt is to spell my name. So I have 2 books. one that 100%, well, neither that fully count, but I'm going with it. So another one I'm interested in reading is Blood of Outcasts by D.A. Smith. This was in Bookborn's group. I actually think this was one of Dom's books, and I think he cut it, so I think that Dom didn't enjoy it. But I'm interested to see if I will like it, because it still sounds like it has the chance for me to like it. This one is a Asian-inspired fantasy. The price in blood will be paid in her own. I think we follow one POV in this who is set on a revenge quest, I think. By the power in her blood and a promise made with it, she's given a second chance. With it, she must unite the outer clans, move past old rivalries and worse, or face annihilation at the hands of foreign sect of sorcerers and their silent invasion. Only Masako is executed, she's meant to be dead. Demonic rumors and destructive past sow doubt in her campaign before it's begun. Sounds cool. And this one is decently short. It's just, I think, under 400 pages, and the font is pretty decent. So I think this is a good contender. Technically, it doesn't spell... Oh, it does. So technically, it doesn't spell my, like, full name, because there's no Y, but it spells, like, the nickname Cass, which is what most people call me. So C-A-S-S. And technically, I get an I and a D out of it. There's just no Y. But, you know, I'm taking Cass. That works. So this would work for the name prompt. And the last one that I'm interested in reading is Fangs of War by E.J. Doble, which is in Fantasy Book Critics reviews. So for this one, the reviewer really talked about the spelling, like the issues with the actual, like, formatting of the writing. One, he does say he read it on Kindle and he noticed in the Amazon preview of it they didn't have these issues, so it was like a real formatting issue, but it still affected his enjoyment too much. I'm typically a person who that doesn't really bother, and there was nothing in this review personally for me that had anything to do with the book, and so as someone who isn't as bothered by grammar and stuff, I could understand why this would be annoying to people who cared, but for me, I was like, well, there's nothing about the book, so I need to read the book to figure it out. So, Fangs of War says, on a silent shore in a distant land, the world was coming to an end. I think this one is my biggest maybe, because although I really want to read this, it was supposed to be in the last SPFBO vlog. It's a chunker. It's got really small writing and is over 500 pages. It's about 550, I think. So I think it just depends how fast I read everything else to be able to get to this. But we have this one. In a story of hope, power, greed, and hatred, all are driven mad by the enemy within. None are safe from the Fangs of War. I will definitely be giving you better descriptions once I've started to read the books and kind of know what they're about, and better synopsis to help you figure out if you want to read them. But that is my tentative TBR. I mean, I'll read 3 of these most likely. There's also a couple prompts. There's one for self-care and one for reading in the dark. I will probably read most of these mixed media format between Kindle and physical book. Reading in the dark will be really easy for me because I'll probably read all of them at some point in the dark because I'll read on my Kindle in bed. But yeah, these are the 3 I currently own, and Seventh Cadence is huge. So when I get that, that'll also be here. Let's get right into reading, I guess. Hello, I am a mess. I figured I needed to update you on the book before I went to bed tonight because I read about 100 pages of this, so you can get my first impressions. Sadly, I'm not loving the book right now. I'm on chapter 5, and page 91 is where chapter 5 starts. It's really dense, and I'm finding it kind of dry. Now, for a chunky fantasy, that's not unheard of to be a thing, but if I was intrigued by the magic or the world, I think that would have helped much more. At this point in time, I'm not entirely sure where the book is heading in any direction. Within the first chapter, not the prologue, I actually really enjoyed the prologue, and I think I enjoy that POV the best out of any POV we've gotten so far. But in the first chapter, we set up a chosen one trope, a chosen one story, but instead of getting us this little bit, like, I prefer a chosen one where I've been given a little bit of time with the character to have feelings about the character before being explicitly told that they are the chosen one. Where in this one, it's pretty much you meet her and chosen one. And so I didn't overly enjoy that. I don't really enjoy her POV at all. And then we also have this seer POV that I'm not entirely sure I enjoy either, which is really hurting my enjoyment of the book, because although I'm not a character-driven reader, I do still want to invest myself in characters. I just would rather there be a really good plot. And at this point in time, there's neither, but we are really early on into a 700-page book. I then went and watched Dom's reviews. I will link Dominish books down below because I know he has read this and really enjoyed this. So I watched his review to see whether I could DNF it or not at this point. After watching his review, I'm not quite ready to DNF it just because he says that there are two different POVs that we kind of get, and one POV sounds very interesting to me and the other sounds decently interesting. So I think those two POVs will be more where my love lies in the book. So I think I'm willing to give it another 50 to 100 pages, specifically maybe till part 2, which is the second movement, which I think is at page 174-ish. But I think in the end, when I'm recommending this to people, it will be a notice of a very dry beginning because it's dry. There's just a lot of info dumping in general, and yeah, not a lot of intrigue for me. Also, I have to say that one of the reasons I did think about DNFing is very personal to me and my reading taste, and the fact that I don't overly enjoy a seer or like a prophet type character, as that kind of magic to me often leans towards a plot device. It's very inducive to a, you get a vision and now we have to go do this, or we get a vision so we're doing this, and there's no reason behind it besides this vision. So it's a plot device that I do not personally enjoy. So I'm a little worried that that's going to become a thing in this book. I've already kind of seen it. If that's a plot device you don't like, I would maybe stay away from it, but we'll see, because it's a plot device I don't like, and at this point I'm not DNFing it, so I'll keep you updated. Those are my first impression thoughts, and I'll get back to you probably around 50% if I didn't DNF, or if I did DNF, whenever I DNF. Hello, and welcome to the clip where I literally might die right after this. Look at where I'm staying. I should be vlogging me reading spooky books right now, because like I literally feel like I'm about to die. I'm in the middle of nowhere too, and this is my accommodations. So all I'm saying is that if no one hears from me at my sprints on Sunday, send help. Actually, I'm not though. I'm like sitting here, and this is probably one of the worst places I've stayed, I think, and I backpacked Thailand. But I'm in Peace River for a wedding. You don't know, I'm a wedding photographer, la-di-da-di-da. So they offered me free accommodation in some camping shacks. And I said, sure, instead of taking their money to book a hotel. Regrets in life, because I would not call this a camping shack. I would call it prison with privacy. And I'm talking really quiet because I don't want anyone to overhear me, so I'm sorry if the vlog, this really sucks, but I'm going to give you a little tour of just like peep outside the door, because I'm in the middle of nowhere, and I'm honestly kind of freaked out because as much I know the couple, I've met with them a couple times, they're lovely, but I realized it's just the groomsmen and the groom here, and I'm the only girl, and I'm just staying in here alone, so the doors will be locked, the window will be shut even though it's boiling hot in here, and I'm gonna read the Seventh Cadence until I fall asleep. Yay! Hopefully I can update you when I didn't die and I make it home. But it will be a beautiful wedding. But I'm 100% only staying here for one night. I'm going home after the wedding tomorrow. Yeah, okay, but let's take a peep outside. I had to go to the washroom. But like, look. I'm living a horror movie moment. Although this little hall is really pretty. This is the washroom. I think that looks real creepy that way. Just saying. I made it to the second part in the Seventh Cadence, which is, this bookmark's incorrect, page 175. I think I'm going to DNF it. At least soft DNF it. I don't know if I'll remove my bookmark quite yet. So the Seventh Cadence follows, I want to say, 4 main characters, although we haven't met a lot of them that much, where we follow this world where there are people who either believe in and are trying to actively find the Wizard Titan, and people who don't really and don't want the Wizard Titan to come back. The Wizard Titan is a literal wizard, a person who was magical, who just kind of up and left one day. So in this book we have our character of Naveed, who is a seer. So there are prophets and seers in the world. Prophets can see like big events, and seers see very like niche events. It's kind of compared to seeing a blade of grass die, like one blade of grass. And then we have Naveed, who is a seer, and he's set on like a mission to find this one random girl who is Telly. Telly is the last of her kind. She is a keeper, and the keepers have like the knowledge that needs to be passed on to the Wizard Titan when they come back. But she's not the last of her kind, really, apparently in this book. But and then we have our kings, who I think at this point we follow the king's POV, but I think that later on it actually is his son's POV that you follow. And then we also have like this random villager girl who you follow, who actually I think is my favorite character that I read from so far. Not that I remember her name. In premise, I think that this book has a really cool world that has been set up. It's just not a world for me and my reading taste. I, for some reason, don't really like stories about wizards. Wizards, I think of that classic archetype and the plot conveniences that wizards bring on. And just, I think the world built around wizards doesn't necessarily work for me. So that is one big notch. So there's a couple reasons for me why I think this isn't working for me that I don't necessarily think are reasons it won't work for anyone else, that being one of them. The thing I talked about earlier with like the seers being a plot device I don't like, blah, blah, blah. There are some problems that I'm having with it that I think would matter to some people more. So one of them is that I just can't connect to characters. I'm finding everything very one-dimensional. There's no like depth between why they do things. They literally just save someone for no random reason. I mean, Ellie agrees to go with Naveed when seers and keepers are like sworn enemies just because. Like, the reason given, like there is a reason given, but it just wasn't believable enough for me. Like, I didn't see the stakes there of why she would just agree and like kind of befriend each other so fast on into the book. And I'm 200 pages in, and there's no depth there for me. There's no character development that's really happened for me. I have an idea of where the book is going, but not a good enough grasp on it that makes me want to sit through another 500 pages of it. Like, this is, I think, a weakness of having a long book like this. If this had been only 300, 400 pages, I would probably suffer through it and see how I felt at the end. And I could see this getting good, just not good enough for me to read 500 more pages, because I think it will be a 3-star from me, and there are more books that I want to read that I'm hoping will be more than 3 stars. So it's just too chunky for the lack of connection I have with the story and with the book. I don't really care about what's happening in the world. Like, it's not, I just feel like everything I've just skimmed the surface on. The world, the magic, the history, the characters. I think we just saw dragons, which normally would really pique my interest, but at this point I'm just kind of over it. I just don't have enough care in me to continue this book, and that is not necessarily like, I want to sit here and tell you like this book is well written in terms of like actual writing strength. It could just be a me thing, and that I'm not connecting with the characters because I don't like the archetypes of the characters in this book. So that does affect my reading enjoyment. So I just want to say, if you like a wizard story, maybe try it. I will also say I'm having struggles with the age of the characters. They read very young to me, but as if they're trying to be older, and I don't really enjoy that. If you're gonna write a younger character, make them read young. If you're gonna write an older character, like, I want to say that they're like 18 to 21, but I'm unsure. I also sometimes think they're like 15 or sometimes they're like 30. Like I can't grasp where their characters lies because they're always doing things that don't make sense to one of those ages. And sometimes they're doing things that do make sense to one of those ages. It's just, yeah, I'm just not loving it. And I'm really sad because I know Dom loved it. And it's gonna be a soft DNF for now, and see, maybe I'll come back to it this week if I have time. But you might not hear again from me in this book. This could be the last clip of it, but on to different things. Good morning. I haven't updated you on Fangs of War at all. Literally at all. I am on chapter 23, which is about page 203. So I'm a good amount in. I'm 33% in according to my Kindle. I'm not having the best of luck with this vlog. I'm definitely on the struggle bus a little bit for these books. This one, although I am intrigued and I like lots of parts of it, so I haven't really felt like, man, I'm gonna DNF this. I'm definitely not loving it. The Fangs of War is a military fantasy. Like, normally military fantasies I love, but it is very military fantasy. You don't have a single POV that isn't part of the militia force. So in Fangs of War, we had a king who was killed by the savages, and then the whole country goes into, there's no like, the king has no successor, so according to their rules, the ruler then becomes the leader of the military. So it's like war times, and the whole country goes into militia rule, which I would say this story is mostly a conversation about war and about the different types of personalities and stuff that you have in war. There's a lot of the POVs in here are power hungry, greedy, not good people, and I do think that I'm struggling a little bit in those POVs because although I don't need a happy-go-lucky, hopeful character, like I love a good morally gray character, I think I still need something to root for, and with lots of these POVs, there's literally nothing to root for. Like, these are terrible, terrible people. At least, like, when I read Prince of Thorns, yes, our protagonist is a terrible person, but you kind of had this characterization and this understanding of this terrible thing that happened to him to make him this way, and see his life grow. In this one, I'm not really getting that. There is a character who I really do enjoy, and I would say she's probably more morally, like, she has the morals of someone that I would stand behind and would want to be my leader in war. And it's really just a take on a story about like power hungry people and what happens in war. Like, it's gruesome, it's dark. I think that I would call this borderline grimdark. It's definitely a darker fantasy, and I haven't really seen it marketed that way, so I would like to kind of put that out there. I think that this is a good book for its target audience, and for some reason I don't feel like I'm its target audience, even though I love like grimdark and typically would say like this would be a book that would grab my attention. I think part of this problem for me is it's very character driven, and I'm not entirely sure where the plot is going, and I need more of that. We've gotten glimmers of the world, but in 200 pages, I don't really know what the world is like. I want to say some sort of magic god thing, but I'm not entirely sure. I wish I had gotten a little bit more of the lore around that. I think that it's trying to be kind of too much of a mystery for me, and I prefer a fantasy where I'm really inside the world and I can kind of understand it, and I feel like the world is very fleshed out as a whole. Other thing that's not working for me is the writing style. If you read R.J. Barker, The Bone Chips with me, when we read that for Backlist Book Club, I didn't love those books. And although I really enjoyed the first one, the rest of them went south. And I think that that's kind of where this is sitting. The writing style is very reminiscent of R.J. Barker's type of writing style, where it's a little bit wordy. He's describing extra things, the color of the grass, the pretty shades in the sunset, things I do not care about in my fantasy books. So I'm struggling a little bit with that, and I think for me and the Bone Chips, I had a unique world on top of that, so I still enjoyed it and could look past the long wordy writing. The style of writing I didn't really enjoy. The little bit more of a omnipotent narrator, like not in like inside someone's head as deeply. You're more like a watchful audience. So those are some issues for me. What I am liking about the book is that conversation. I'm enjoying that, and also I don't hate the issues that the reviewer talked about. Like, yes, I will say our author italicizes, I don't know how to say that, words a lot, and probably more than they should, and they also have a lot of long sentences, a lot of commas instead of periods, but I think that's part of the wordy writing that I just don't always enjoy, but it's not necessarily like something I would pick out and tell you, man, there's a lot of commas instead of periods. Like, there are some long run-on sentences, but it doesn't bother me like it did the reviewer, but I definitely can see why that was a big issue. I'm still probably gonna finish this one because the rest of the books I'm having no hope with, but yeah, I think that this is sitting at a maybe 3-star currently. We'll see if we get more of that world and intrigue. Oh, the other thing I really need to complain about is authors. If you have a multi-POV'd story, please put what POV we're in for each chapter. None, like, it just has chapter 23 and then the chapter title. I need to know whose POV I'm in. I'm finding that one really confusing, is trying to figure out whose POV I'm in all the time, because there's a lot. They jump around. We have new ones being introduced. We have old ones going away. Yeah, please tell me the POV. I'll update you in a bit. Hello, so Fangs of War, I decided to DNF. The more I read the book, the less interested I was in it. I just felt like nothing was happening. I kept reading, hoping to understand where our plot was going, have more of an intrigue in what was going on, but it just didn't happen. I think it's a very character-driven story, and if you don't enjoy a story like that, if you're not invested in the characters and the many things that happen, if you don't enjoy the many things that are happening to the characters, you just don't really overall enjoy the story, and that's where I'm at. I'm not a character-driven reader, so sadly I've just decided that I am being the queen of DNFs lately, and I'm DNFing books like crazy, because even though I am reading them to give you guys a review, at the same time it can't affect my own enjoyment, and I feel like I gave you enough of a review in here to still DNF it and say, like, this is just not a book for me. Like, personally, just not a book for me, and if any of what I said sounds interesting to you, please give it a try. And now let's update you on the other book. And to bring this vlog to a close, I soft DNF'd the Cradle. This book could have been just wrong timing. When I read it, I couldn't decide if it was me or if it was the book. I read this earlier on in the week, and I only read about 30 pages, and I just, in one ear, out the other. So it's just a soft DNF. The Cradle is one that I do actually want to come back to in the future, so I can't really say much about it for you here. But at this moment in time, it's just not something I'm going to read, because I'm slumping a little bit, and reading it just wasn't working for me. I didn't really enjoy the writing style of that one, but again, I want to give it a second go, so that's really all I can say about it, because I didn't read very much of it. But yeah, so this brings this vlog to a close, which is really sad that I DNF'd all 3 of these books, one being a soft DNF. But yeah, I was going to start Blood of Outcasts, but with the rate I'm having with these other ones, I just decided that instead of putting myself in a slump, I'm going to end the vlog here, and plus it's the end of the week for Summer Self Pub anyways, so I can get this up to you guys, and let me know. I was really unsure if I could post a vlog where I DNF'd all of the books in it, but my Patreon was talking to me and saying that they would still watch it, especially if I said why I DNF'd it and said the things about the book, so you could still understand enough about the book to see whether you would like it. So let me know down below in the comments if you are okay with a vlog like this, if DNFs in vlogs bother you, if you think that I should have read them all the way through, I guess. But if you made it this far into the video and you'd like to leave me an emoji just to say you were here, leave me a fruit emoji, like cherries, tomatoes, I don't know, apples, something like that. And if you'd like to connect with me on other platforms, my book Twitter, my Bookstagram, my Goodreads, and my Patreon, all linked in the description bar below. I will be back at some point with another SPFBO vlog. I gotta figure out what exactly it is, and hopefully it'll have better luck than this one. So thank you guys so much, and take care.